Hello, welcome to my new video. This is a new topic. We are going to talk about generative validation in document understanding. So, what is generative validation and what it can do? Generative validation is one of the latest features that got released in 23.12 release into public preview. So, the purpose of generative validation is to use generative AI capabilities to validate the extracted information from other models or templates. So this includes the machine learning models, the form extractor, the regex based extraction. When you have the extracted results, you can actually check if that extracted value is less than a specific threshold. You can try to apply generative AI capabilities to read and extract the same value. The purpose of generative extractor here is not to double check each and every data that you extract through your specialized or template or rule based extractors, but the idea here is to use the generative AI capabilities to verify the data that's below a specific threshold so that the manual involvement that's needed to verify that information is less. So it's another extra step that UiPath is introducing to improve the extraction and the overall extraction result with the help of generative AI capabilities. So that's just one part of the function of the generative extractor that is coming in as a new feature here. You can also use the generative extractor to extract data from the any document by just providing the prompt. But in this video, we are going to look at how we can use the generative extractor along with the specialized models to extract the information and improve your validation. So this is the whole idea, and this is the release notes, so you can read it over here how it works. And they have also mentioned few best practices that you can follow when using this generative AI capabilities for your validation. I actually prepared a small workflow that I would like to show you how this can be used. In this workflow, I actually have a small invoice that I would like to process. So let me show how it looks like in the taxonomy manager. These are some of the fields that I'm trying to extract. In the studio, I have the normal workflow. So we have the load taxonomy, we have a for each loop that I can use to loop through the input data folder. So this is my folder, input data. And I have the digitized document. I don't do the classification here because I plan to only process invoices just for now. Since I'm not using the classification step, I'm using the document type ID, which I'm getting from the taxonomy manager itself. And over here, I have included the machine learning extractor and the generative extractor. For the machine learning extractor, I don't have any custom trained models. I'm using the public endpoint over here for now. And let me just show you the config extractor part. In the public endpoint, I am using these capabilities. So these are the different fields available. For shipping name, I don't have a field, so I'm purposefully keeping it empty so that I can try to use the generative extractor to extract this field. So if I don't have the generative extractor, I will have to manually mention this when I'm doing the validation because a model may not be trained for that specific field. So this is something I'm trying to do while we do this comparison and while we try to see how it improves our validation part. And on the generative extractor side, I have a set of prompts mentioned. So let me go here. This is where you can actually specify the prompts. These are the fields, and I'm asking a simple prompt: what is the invoice number, invoice date, and so on. For specific fields like this, so for the shipping name, that field was not available in the specialized model. So for this one, I'm actually asking what is the shipping name, and if the shipping name is not mentioned in the document as well, instead of having it empty, I want to extract the billing name instead of that. So let me open the document so it makes more sense for you. And this is an invoice I got from the UiPath Academy itself. So you can also download it from the document understanding courses that's available for the specialized AI certification. If you see here, the shipping name is not mentioned, and the shipping address is mentioned as same as recipient. So instead of having this empty, I want to make this one as my shipping name. Also, for the address, I want to use a different field. So we are already doing it for the shipping name. So for the address, I want to use a different address instead of capturing same as recipient. So in your specialized models, you may be extracting this because those models are trained to extract that specific field. But with generative AI, you can have that flexibility where you can even write a simple condition to extract something else. Let's see how it is done. In the shipping address, here I'm trying to extract the vendor address instead of that specific text. So my prompt here is extract the shipping address only if it is a valid address, else extract the vendor address mentioned in the invoice. This is what I'm trying to do. So let's see how this works. So before using the generative extractor, I'll show you how the results look like in the machine learning extractor so we can see the difference. So let me disable this for now so that we only use the machine learning extractor for the time being. And based on the output we get here, I have a present validation station and also some export extraction activities, but let's run up to this point so that we can see how the output looks like for the machine learning extractor. And I only have one document in the input folder, which is this one, the one I showed you. So let's have a look. We should see the validation station shortly. So we have the present validation station open and we can see the extracted results. You can see the invoice number is not extracted, and again I'm using the public endpoint for this, so I don't have a specialized model trained to explicitly extract this information on this specific layout. So the invoice number is not extracted. These are some values that's already extracted, and the shipping name is not extracted because it's not here. The shipping address, it says same as recipient because these are specialized models and it will obviously extract this one because this is where it can find the shipping address. This is how it looks like in our specialized model, the machine learning extractor using the endpoint. The rest of the fields are extracted properly here under valid fields. So these have some good confidence levels. Now let's see how we can use the generative extractor along with the machine learning extractor to extract fields for these specific values. So let me close this. So in the data extraction scope, we have some new properties that we need to look at. In the data extraction scope, here we have apply generative validation option. Whenever we are using the generative extractor, we need to enable this so that we can use it for the validation purposes. In addition to that, along with this, we have another property called generative validation confidence threshold. As I mentioned before, the generative extractor is not going to double check each and every field that you are going to extract if you are using it for the validation purpose. It will only look at fields that falls below a specific threshold. In my case, I have mentioned it 96 here. What does that mean? It means if the machine learning extractor extracts certain fields and if the confidence of those is less than 96, it will use the generative extractor along with the prompts I have given for those specific fields and try to see if it can extract the same value or if it is a different value. If it is the same value, what it will do, it will boost your confidence level so that you will have a higher confidence level in your output. And if it's different, it will still remain or it will show the value that was given to you by the machine learning extractor. That is how it works when you use the generative extractor for validation purpose. You can also use the generative extractor for extracting data as well if you are not planning to use any other extractor. But right now we are going to show how it is done for the validation part. In case you want to use the generative extractor just for the extraction, you can just use the extractor here just like any other extractor and use it with the same set of prompts. That's how this works. Now let me enable the generative extractor for these fields. For now, I'm going to enable it only for the regular fields. And we have it configured now. So ideally, it should show us values. It should use generative extractor for the values that where the confidence is less than 96. In the present validation station, there are some properties here as well. You have the fields validation confidence. What does this mean? It means the upper limit of the confidence level. So everything that goes above this thing will be hidden or collapsed in a part where it says valid fields so that it will only show the fields that require our attention. In that way, we don't need to go through the entire document and only focus on the fields that has the confidence below this specific threshold mentioned here. That's something additional. So now we have configured this extractor. Now let's run it and see how it looks like. Now we have the validation station again. So let's look at the fields that we were looking at before. The vendor address is having 90%. We did not have we were not able to extract the shipping name earlier because it's not mentioned here. But with our prompt, it was able to extract. So it's not here under the validation part. So if you go to the valid field section, you can also see the invoice number, which was not extracted before. So it was able to identify that and it was able to extract it. And it was also able to boost our confidence level to 96% for this specific field. So you can see how the validation helps to reduce the manual effort on certain fields when validating. Additionally, the shipping name. This is something that we were not able to extract earlier because it's not mentioned. But in my prompt, I was telling that if it is not mentioned, I need to use the vendor name. Sorry, the billing name instead of the shipping name. And it was able to properly identify that and extract it for the shipping name. You can also see the confidence level. And if you look at the billing name, it is exactly the same. Now the other one, the next field that we were working with, which is the shipping address. I wanted I wanted this to be the vendor address instead of the billing address because we used the billing address for the other field. But here it is still showing same as recipient. What's the reason for this? And the confidence level is also below 65%. And in our configuration, we said if anything goes below 96, we should use the generative extractor to do the validation. Why it didn't get applied here? Because there is another condition. For the generative validation to boost our confidence level here, it needs to also extract the same value. So in my case, if I just give the prompt, just extract the shipping address, maybe it will extract the same as recipient. But I'm looking for a specific scenario here because the other scenario you already saw. If it is not available, extract this. And also the same got applied for the invoice number where the machine learning model was not able to extract it, but with the generative extractor, it was able to extract it for us. But this is something different that I'm trying. So instead of same as recipient, I want it to give me this address. It did not happen here because these two values are different. The specialized model, the ML extractor gives me same as recipient, but the generative extractor gives me an address. Since it is different, it automatically uses the value that we got from the machine learning extractor because that's the primary extractor since we are using Gen AI for the validation part and it shows that value over here. How to correct this? This is the extra step. We have two methods to do it. One, we can use the gen extractor or generative extractor for this instead of the machine learning extractor. Other way is to use the confidence level in the extractor itself. So let's have a look. Let me close this. The two methods I mentioned was we can go here. We can basically disable this. So we don't need to use the machine learning extractor for this. We can keep it like that. But there can be scenarios where machine learning extractor can extract the shipping address. So we need to have it. So that if not, you decide that gen extractor can do this, you can just simply disable, which is fine. But still, the generative extractor will be able to extract it. In my case, I'm trying to do something different. While keeping this available, I want to use the minimum confidence here. So if I use the minimum confidence, this applies for all the fields, not just this one. So it is something that you need to decide based on your data, based on how strong your model is, what the output looks like. But this is something I'm just demonstrating to show that this is also another way where you can configure these things to get the best output as you require. The actual configuration for that specific use case may differ from what I'm showing you. So it Depends on the documents, the models, and everything. But this is also another way of doing it. We got the confidence level at 65% when we extract the shipping address. If I say I'm going to use the minimum confidence level as 67 here, what will happen now is everything that falls below 67 confidence level from machine learning extractor, it will try to use the generative extractor for those fields and try to extract the value directly from the generative extractor instead of this one. This is another way of configuring or using your extractors in different ways to get the best output. Now let's run this and see how it looks like. And here we have the validation screen again. This time you can see the shipping address with this address, the one that we wanted to extract, instead of the same as recipient. You get the idea. I'm just demonstrating 2 or 3 different scenarios here along with the validation part. One is using the generative extractor to extract the values. Also using the generative extractor for the validation purpose. And the other one that I just showed you is configuring your data extraction scope and the confidence thresholds so that you can use these combinations to get the required value. How you configure it can depend on your scenario, depend on your use case. But generally, these are the different ways that you can use to extract the data. So with that, I'll stop this video. Thank you for listening, and I hope this was helpful for you to understand how the generative validation work and how you can use the generative extractor for the data extraction along with the other models or the other extractors. If there's any questions, you can always put it in the comment section. I'll reply to you, and I'll see you in another video. Have a good day.